Hello, so it's currently Wednesday, February 5th at 4:30 in the afternoon, and I should be sitting in the FO seat of a 777-200 preparing to push back to head to Madrid. But I'm at home in front of this green screen. Let me explain. So I actually picked up a trip to Madrid as a flying pilot, and I was so looking forward to this trip because it's a flying pilot position, and it's Madrid, not London, right? Then a few days ago, I think on Monday, I was sitting at home on my computer looking at cars, and I get a notification anytime my schedule changes or if a trip comes into open time. This is something to look at, right? And I noticed the trip I had for Wednesday, today, was an open time for an FO. I panicked. See, if you watch my videos, I often have a lot of standing bids in, like automated requests to change my schedule. And in the past, I have absolutely made a mistake where I accidentally dropped or traded a trip. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just lost a really good trip. And then a few minutes later, my phone rang. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And it was our training department letting me know that they bought my trip and that I have the 3 days off. Whew! Huge weight off my shoulders. So at my airline, if you are a new pilot, and this is mostly happening for captains, but so what happens is there's a new captain on my fleet and they need a trip to go fly the airplane. Well, they use my trip to go fly the airplane. So the training captain, the one who's to be trained, will be in the captain's seat, and the check airman will be in my seat. And so to be fair, because I shouldn't be put out of money for this, right? The airline's gonna say, hey, we're gonna pay you for it, no problem. And even better, I can pick up another trip and get paid for both. So when they did this, they actually created a FC position, a second relief pilot position, because originally the trip to Madrid has 3 pilots. Well, if you're under training, you'll have 4. And say, hey, First Officer Bird, if you want to, you can even pick up the relief pilot position for this exact same trip if you want to go to Madrid. Well, I tried to pick it up, but I am very junior, and it went senior. So I'm like, well, crap, it's okay. But then a trip to London opened up that was a deadhead to London and fly back. I'm like, same days, it leaves late tonight at 9 p.m., which is not my favorite London departure. I have never done that late London departure, but this one, I'm just deadheading in a business class seat. So I have to go shave my face, pack my bag, and head to the airport. Let's go. I always talk about not forgetting things, and I forgot 2 very important things, my water bottle and my coffee cup. All right. Hello, my name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I am a husband of a scientist. It is 7:26. My sign-in time is 8:36 for a 9:36 p.m. departure. Why so close between sign-in and departure? Great question, Darren, because I'm not flying, I am deadheading. So again, I was supposed to go to Madrid, couldn't go to Madrid. Instead I'm going to London, and I'm being paid for both. So it's a very odd situation. It has to do with a contract that I can double dip. So this is a deadhead to London on a 787 and a fly back on a 777-200. Why are they doing this? I believe because they're changing equipment from a 78 to a 777 for this late night flight to London. So they have to get us into position so we can fly back the return flight. So, very easy trip. And it was built like this. It was a very senior trip for the pilots and the flight attendants. And the FB that I'm going to be refilling in for called in sick. So maybe he or she got the flu. I don't know. But it went into open time on Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, and it came up for bidding around 10 o'clock, and I got awarded it shortly thereafter. So, yay me. Again, and because of it's in our contract that if we're doing certain flights, we get a certain kind of seat, and because of this flight is a transatlantic flight, a long flight, we are guaranteed a business class seat. So I get to get a business class seat over to London, and it's an entire 777 crew. Once we get there, I got about 22 hours, and then I fly back as a relief pilot, getting back Friday afternoon And then I am off for one whole day on Saturday. And then Sunday, I start my next trip to Incheon, which I believe, no, Sunday, ha ha ha, I go back to London as a relief pilot. That's right. That's part of my line for February. So I go to London twice in a row with one day off in between. Again, because I was supposed to go to Madrid, this trip's gonna pay very well. I'm gonna get paid basically double pay. I get paid 20 hours and 10 minutes for my original Madrid trip and 19 hours, I think 34 minutes for this London trip. And I'm only having to fly just the return flight, London to DFW. Now, I'm yawning, right? Because I'm ready to go to bed. If this was if I was gonna be flying this trip, I would have absolutely taken a nap today. Instead, I did a full day of normal stuff. I posted 2 videos to YouTube and Facebook. Picked up my kids from school, did dinner with the family, yada yada yada. So I'm ready to go to bed. The flight, the flight leaves at 9 p.m. Gets in at noon in London. So I'm gonna get a pretty good night's rest. I anticipate sleeping at least 5 to 6 hours on the airplane. So this will be the first time in a while that I will get to London not feeling absolutely exhausted. So, different kind of trip for me. Follow along. All right, let's go to the airport and head to the gate. I did get random in KCM, so I had to go through normal security, and then I went up to the Capital One Lounge. I have a Capital One Venture X card. I get access when I'm on an actual real ticket. They don't allow traditional non-revs in here anymore. But I had a few bites to eat and grabbed some really amazing cookies and headed over to Terminal A. That's where the flight was leaving from. And DFW Airport needs some work. A lot of stuff just doesn't seem to be functioning, including the escalators in Terminal A. Had to go down the elevator. And of course, escalators don't really break, they just become stairs. But when you have luggage, yeah, hopped in my business class seat and had a pretty good meal. I had the fish meal on the way over, watched some videos about the Lucid Air, a car I'm interested in, but unfortunately, by the time you see this, I'm not going to be able to get one for. They have so many combinations of options that I can't find the right car I want to get this month. So they have promotions. Anyways, I had the standard omelet meal before arrival. I've had the same meal as a pilot. I've had it a lot. It was fine. Very smooth flight over there. I did sleep quite a bit. And there was a full crew of us on board. Some people in uniform, some not uniform. So we all had to kind of figure out who was who and do a head count, make sure we're all here. And we all headed through customs and then out to a bus to take us downtown to our normal hotel. I was hoping for a different hotel, but no, normal hotel. Okay, so in London and not exhausted. It's funny when you can sleep the whole flight, you don't arrive tired. Uh, Easy flight. Great business class seat. Had a little bit of the meal, not a whole lot, and then went to bed pretty easily. I do sleep with headphones in. Um, I use an iPhone and an Android phone, right? So I use Pixel Buds Pro 2 and AirPod Pro something 2, maybe. The Pixel Buds are more comfortable to sleep in than the AirPods are. So, but slept decently. I'm a kind of a big guy, so uh, it's not a very soft seat to sleep in, but it goes back far enough. It's almost lie flat. I guess it is lie flat. My problem is my feet are big, size 14 shoes, and so where my feet go, it's not a lot of space for them to sit comfortably. So that's the biggest issue overall. But funny, before we left Dallas, the captain was sitting across the aisle from me. And oh, by the way, I'm the only pilot in partial uniform. Like I have my little pullover on. They were in normal clothes, but they knew each other. So they got on board together. And the captain asked the flight attendant, "Do you know where the other FO is? His last name is Bird. So make sure he's on board." I'm like, "Hey, I'm right here. Nice to meet you." Nice guy. They're both very senior. I think he's captain is in the 100 seniority range. The FO is in the 2,000 seniority range. Again, I am number 9,050. But got here just fine. Different because we're crew, but not working crew. It's different for us to clear customs and security, and not clear customs really. Uh, and then we had a different hotel van to bring us to the hotel. But yeah, so now I'm here for, I don't know, 20 hours, but it's cold. Yeah, I said it, it's cold. So I'm gonna walk around somewhere. I did bring in my heavy winter coat. It is 46 degrees, so it's cold. All right, let's go. So, out on the cold streets of London, I went to the Soho area. I haven't been here in a while. This was something different. And I did find some chocolate for my wife. My wife likes chocolate. She likes milk chocolate. So, I found a new chocolate shop, and the lady there was like, "You just want milk chocolate, sir? Because we have all of these other varieties." I'm like, I understand. She only likes milk chocolate. So, I got the one kind of milk chocolate they had and then left. And she, I mean, she liked it. It's fine. While in Soho, I'm like, I've been coming to London now for a few months and never had fish and chips in London. So what did I have? I had fish and chips in London. Someone's gonna chime in saying I got the wrong fish and chips, but it was fine. Now there had malt vinegar on the table. I don't use malt vinegar. My crazy wife uses that. I didn't know that was even a thing, but I did want some hot sauce because I do like spicy food. I'm like, should I ask? I should ask, but I did ask for hot sauce, and thankfully they bought me a bottle of Tabasco, which made it quite a bit better. I don't understand why they have just a small little thimble of tartar sauce. I find it interesting in most places in Europe and in everywhere else in the world, they give you much smaller portions of condiments than they do in the United States. But this big old bottle of Tabasco, it did hit the spot. And I'm used to eating by myself. I've gotten used to that many years ago. But once I was done, I did a little bit more exploring. Again, it's cold outside and it's windy. Um, I'm not happy. But I walked around this Asian area. It was very interesting. And I think I'll come back here again to maybe eat one day because I do like trying random foods. And I do find London has a lot more ethnic foods than many other cities I've been to. But once I was done, I'm like, I'm done. Headed back on the tube and headed back to the hotel. And I will say, as old as the tubes are in London, getting around is pretty easy. I like the big signage, and Google Maps helps quite a bit. I just stopped by Whole Foods for some evening snacks and something for breakfast the next day. No footage because it was cold, and I went to bed pretty quickly after getting back to the hotel. But the next day, okay, good morning. It is currently 8:35 here in London, 2:35 a.m. in Dallas. Feeling great. Um, Going to shave. I use this shaver for my road trips, 3-day trips. I don't get that big of a hair, so I can easily shave with this. Hence, I have my uniform shirt on because hair follicles, right? Then we have the Breakfast of Champions. So let's review yesterday. I did get my wife some William Curly chocolate near Soho here in London. Had fish and chips, and then just kind of chilled. I did get an awesome trip trade for my next trip. Got super lucky. I'm a big believer in karma. Um, and then I went to get some papaya. It all looked really sad. So I got mango for breakfast this morning. I'm having mango, some orange juice, and a protein drink. So the inbound plane, before I go to bed, I always see the inbound plane's on time, and it was on time. I went to bed. Apparently, they're taking that plane and giving it to someone else to keep them on time. So our plane is coming in from Dallas. It left 3 hours late, getting here 3 hours late, but it's getting here at 10, and we leave at noon, and we're not full. So it should be doable. We'll see. Uh, and then dealing with stuff from home remotely is always a challenge. Nothing major. My wife is a DNA scientist, and she has to travel for work every now and then, and it's very rare. She deals with a certain county in another state, and most of these crimes, these people will plead out right before the case goes to trial, but she has to always prepare to go to trial. Well, they told her yesterday they need her to testify by 1 p.m. in this state, right? Well, I get back at 2 p.m. So the plan now is for her to get the kids ready to go to school, take them to school, go to the airport, fly out, and then I fly in and get home at 2 and all's okay. And I'm coming in from Narita, Japan. Um, she'll know before she leaves if I left on time or not. So, but yeah, and we're almost positive that they're going to plead out. Like she's had so many subpoenas over the last year, and she hasn't been to the county in a long time. So, but we also have to prepare for it, right? And we have no family in town, so that's a big challenge for us to have childcare. It is what it is. Abnormal family, traveling. I mean, people have it worse than us. Army families and military families and single parents out there. So I'm gonna have my breakfast, shave my face, and head to the airport. All right. So we all endured the London security, got to the gate right when they were deplaning. So we took a seat and waited for the plane to get cleaned, and then made the walk down the jet bridge to the 777-200. And this is the plane I fly the most often. They don't have the best crew bunk areas, but it's still a nice and roomy cockpit. I sit in the second observer seat. Most time when we're getting ready to go to kind of stay out of the way, once we push back, I go to my proper seat in the middle of the flight deck. So let's talk about how we go from the gate to the runway in London. Is different than anywhere else in the world. Okay. So every airport has their own way of doing things. The way we get from the gate to the runway in Dallas is totally different how we get from the gate to the runway in Chicago or Miami or New York, Minneapolis, Detroit. Every airport has its own unique way of doing things. And London has their own unique way of doing things. Now, once we're ready for pushback and all the doors are closed and everything's done, and again, it is an amazing feat to get an airplane ready on time. There are so many people that, as a passenger, even as a pilot, that we will never encounter, but their jobs are absolutely vital. From people thousands of miles away in my headquarters, my operations center, who are monitoring weather and fuel and cargo loading, passenger lists, passenger connections, to the people who are local, who are helping fuel the airplane, cater the airplane, put the luggage on, cleaning the ramp areas. All these people, mechanics, have to be ready to go and do their jobs correctly so that we can get off the gate on time. It's a lot. And when people get concerned about flight times and departures and everything, there's so much going on and every single flight is unique. You can't say, oh, it's a routine flight to Dallas to Houston. There is not a single thing called a routine flight in this business. But when we're ready for pushback, we have specific verbiage we have to use when we call to get ready to go. And we don't call ground right away. We call clearance again. Even though I already called clearance once earlier to get my clearance to Dallas, now we call clearance again to get pushback from the gate. And the verbiage goes like this: Heathrow delivery, flight 155, stand 334, Boeing 777-200, QNH 1024, ATIS information Papa, fully ready. So now they know our flight number, where we are, our type aircraft, we have the right QNH, because that's important, and we have the latest ATIS, which is the latest weather and information about the airport going on. Not just weather, it's what's going on at the airport, and that we're ready to go. Once they have all that information, they say, okay, contact ground. So we flip over to the ground. Ground, flight 234, ready for pushback, stand 334. Okay, clear to pushback, call for taxi. So from that point, we push back, start our engines, and then we taxi on our way. Now, one thing that London does that is kind of also unique is they have holding points around the airport with names. First time I left, I had no idea. It's talking to ATCs is kind of like a game of this copycat. They tell you something and you read it back, right? So the first time I left here and they said taxi via, in this case, Bravo, Echo, Alpha to Horka. I'm like, okay, taxi via Bravo, Echo, Alpha to Horka. Hey, Captain, what's Horka? Well, Horka is a fix on the airport property. It's a sign, and it's a line as well. So we can taxi that point and stop. And the reason we stop there is for traffic management, because Horka, as you'll see on the screen, is just short of where Bravo and Alpha come out from the other gate. So if we were to taxi all the way down Alpha to the runway, we might cut people off, and they might not be sequenced correctly, because Heathrow Airport also uses intersection departures very commonly, where I'll see aircraft departing from November 8 and November 10. So if we stop at Horka, they can get in there and depart from those gates just fine. But we taxi to Horka. At that point, we'll be monitoring Tower, and Tower will sequence us for takeoff. Again, sometimes there's no one down there. On this particular day, there's quite a bit of traffic for us to get down to the runway. But that is a quick overview of how we go from the gate to the runway in London Heathrow. Now, some people often wonder, what am I doing as a relief pilot over the ocean? Well, on this particular flight, again, I was sat in the captain's seat and the first officer seat, in addition to my jump seat, of course. So when it's time for the captain's break, I come up front, I get briefed on the entire situation of the aircraft, what's going on with our routing, weather for any kind of airports nearby we can fly into in case of emergency for medical or for mechanical. And often those are different airports. And then the captain will put someone in charge. Now, it is not always the most senior pilot. It is often the most experienced pilot on the 777. Now, most time, it is not me. I've been the most experienced pilot, I think, twice. But the captain will designate someone in charge. And when they designate we're in charge, we are in charge. So while they're resting, if we have an emergency or anything pop up, we make the decision. It's like when you're a little kid and you have to call dad. Hey, mom, dad, hey, this light's going on. What should we do? Or there's a medical emergency in the back. What should we do? No, we handle the situation. Now, again, many times over the Atlantic Ocean, if you're diverting, it's an hours-long process. It's not like we're over Atlanta, Georgia, and we have an issue. We can drop down to Georgia real quick, right? Atlanta real quick. It could be 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes to get to the diversion airport. So it takes a bit. But I sat in the captain's seat on this one. He was the flying pilot. So my first time up there, I was the flying pilot. Now, as a flying pilot over the ocean, not a whole lot to do. I'm monitoring systems. If we need to adjust speed, I'm adjusting speed for turbulence, making decisions on altitude for climbing, descending for a ride or for winds. And then we have a fuel log on my side. I'm monitoring our time and fuel log for every single waypoint to make sure we're getting there on time and we have the appropriate amount of fuel. They're incredibly accurate. And most time it's within 1 or 2 minutes and a couple hundred pounds plus or minus for the most part. The weather predictions and all the flight planning is pretty spot on. But once the captain's break is over, he or she will come back up, they get rebriefed about the whole situation. Then they take their captain's seat back, I step back, and I will then sit in the first officer seat. So that's what I did, right? And now I am the pilot monitoring. I'm on the radios. Now again, over the ocean, most time we're using a system called CPDLC to talk to ATC. Except for when we enter a new sector, we do have to verify with our HF radio, high frequency radio, kind of like AM radio, that it will connect to them just fine. And our computer connects to them just fine for the texting portion, the CPDLC portion. But beyond that, now I am doing my fuel log, and we are monitoring multiple more stuff as far as our flight plan goes. As we pass each fix, we're recording various data on a piece of paper to make sure that it's like a nav log. So I'm doing that in addition to the fuel log and just monitoring the flight. It's pretty easy work. We're also monitoring weather, of course, multiple times, but once an hour, to see how the weather's changing for any possible airports we might have to divert into. But I was up in the FO seat for most of the rest of the flight, and then just prior to our descent, or depending on the pilot, if we're going somewhere where they aren't very comfortable with, maybe it's a new airport for all of us, then maybe we want to be back in our seats a little earlier. We're coming into Dallas, typically be in our seats a little bit later. We all know Dallas, right? But the FO will come back up, then I'll go back to my jump seat, and at this point, I will, if I need to, any kind of maintenance issues that came up on the flight, I'll record those in the maintenance log and send those to the mechanics so they can know what's going on with the back of the airplane. Maybe passengers broke some seats or some lights or some call buttons or whatever's going on with the airplane. Otherwise, I'm back and I'm just monitoring the flight from the back seat. And once we get on the ground and we land in Dallas, I'll call the ramp, say, hey, our flight's on the ground, check the gate status. We pull into the gate, and then my job is done. So that's a brief overview as a relief pilot. It's a pretty nice gig, I'll say that much. As being part of a multi-pilot crew really lowers the workload. I'm enjoying the 777. All right, so back in Dallas. I slept really well last night in London. We all piled in the van, got to the airport. London security wasn't horrible today for my crew. Another crew, some poor crew member got a massage, and then whatever reason, the massage oil set off the explosives alarm on their bag. It's because of glycerin. If you didn't know this, glycerin is in a lot of oils and creams and lotions. It can set off the explosive alarm. So be careful with lotion going through security. Our crew was easy. Unfortunately, our plane landed right before we went through security. So by the time we got to the gate, they were deplaning, yada, yada, yada. We didn't board on time. But because the inbound was lightly loaded and we were lightly loaded, we pushed back either on time or close to on time. But then, leaving London, was a pretty good line for takeoff to get out of the airport. Captain took off, headed out. I went back for my break. I went up front, gave the captain his break, sat in the captain's seat, and I got in the captain's seat. We were past 30 west. I think we were like a 40 or 50 west. So almost to a booty. I don't remember. Anyways, then I gave the FO his break. He had the last break. Oh, this road is horrible. My God. Chat with both of them. Here's something of note. They're both very senior in their positions, 100 and 2,000 in seniority. The captain does this trip 3 times this month. I thought this was a one-off trip going from a 787 to a 777, mixing it up on the London flights. No, he does this flight 3 times this month. Yeah. So yeah, Darren, I just head to London in first class and fly back. Yeah. Oh, seniority has its privileges. The FO does it again next week as well. So good for them. Good for them. But yeah, we got here. We did have to land on 17 Center and taxi over to the gate, so that added a few minutes. But I am off for 1 whole day. And what will I do on my day off? I'm going to go to Arkansas to look at a car. Yeah. And then I work on Sunday. Now, ironically, on Sunday, I probably already mentioned this, I do deadhead on a 787. It'll be probably my longest deadhead ever, deadheading to Haneda, Japan. And then I take a bus to Narita, a company limo bus, and then I fly back out of Narita. It is an FO position though, so that's kind of nice. But I am very happy with my month of February. It is shaping up to be a low workload, high pay month. I attribute this to karma and luck and opportunity. But let it head home. It is 5:30 again. I should get home and I have plenty of energy to spend the evening with my family. I will send it off to Darren. My wife's texting me now. Send it off to Darren to wrap it up. So as far as the compensation goes for the flight, it was a very good week for me. It's very rare to get paid double to do this job. So I got paid first for the Madrid flight. That's the total here. Again, I don't get all I get for that flight is just my hourly. There is no per diem involved or anything else because I didn't actually do it. Now, I could have absolutely stayed home over those 3 days, but let's be honest here. I had been off for like 10 days. I had a pretty big beard beginning of this video. Getting a little cabin crazy, right? Cabin fever, being at home so much. So I was ready to fly. My wife was ready for me to fly. So I did pick up a trip. I got lucky to pick up a trip. And then as far as my London compensation, you can see it here. This is the hourly, the per diem, and the international pay for that trip. Very good week for me. Once again, my name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I'm a husband of a scientist. I truly appreciate your support, and I mean that sincerely. You can like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me a ton. Again, all the money I earn from YouTube comes into production. So, like this big green screen I am sitting in front of. This wasn't super expensive, but a couple $100, and it helps me greatly make better videos. In my previous videos, I had a very narrow green screen, so I couldn't move my arms very much. Like in the beginning of this video, I had a mouse to the side because my arm kept disappearing. But now I can move my hands around and I have a lot more room to make better content for you, as well as I'm sitting in front of these two bright lights, nice fancy camera with stands, good microphone. So I appreciate your support. Have a great day. And as always, thank you for stopping by.